Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once more to some Friday Night Faceit coming your way here. And Dexatron is our last game of the week, but honestly, it could potentially be the closest one we have had yet. It's Hivemind versus Midori. Midori, a team that has been very well established, they did phenomenal in their season, in Season 5. Hivemind, though, seeing them for the first time here, definitely a couple of players I recognize on this team, including Hypno, Ronin, Dreepy, a squad that's done well for itself so far, and honestly, might be one of the scrappiest teams that we've seen so far this season.
Yeah, I mean, they've been a good surprise here in the early part of the season. However, both these two teams, they're playing their 6th game of the season here tonight. A lot of the teams here in NA Masters have yet to finish their first third of their season. These two teams starting their second third here tonight, and both of them finish up that first third 3-2 on the season so far. And honestly, Hunter, I think that's perfectly fine. That's actually really good. If you can go 3-2 probably throughout this season, you'll be in those playoff talks probably as one of those lower seeds, but you'll probably be in the playoffs no matter what. However, starting the second half or second third of the season here tonight, both these teams are looking for a victory here to keep it going.
Yeah, definitely want to be able to do so. Hivemind have been very back and forth. Currently 3-2, like you said, so honestly pretty acceptable overall from them. They've kind of have gone back and forth in their quote-unquote win quality. They got a win over Alternate, who up until that point was basically breezing through teams, and then lost to Katsuki earlier on in that week, which Katsuki having their own struggles over there. Hope they obviously improve. Midori is in the same camp, though, losing to Emote down mid, which, to be fair, Emote down mid, now with Cardifan back, with the ball back in play, have become the deadly force they once were. So excited to see what's going to go that way, but obviously, we got to focus on this match as Hivemind's going to get our first selection.
Yeah, and again, still Busan, Ilios, Oasis. You're going to be seeing that through the regular season. New map pool will come in the playoffs. Same thing with Wu Yang. And for that explanation of why Wu Yang is not being implemented now, is because the Faceit season started before Wu Yang was introduced. So Wu Yang will be introduced into playoffs, unlike an OWCS, where Wu Yang is going to be playable from the get-go there. And honestly, Hunter, I've seen a little bit of Wu Yang played in Japan, a little bit of Wu Yang played in Korea. Seems to be a very fun hero to see, but right now won't be seeing them here just yet. But both these two teams, again, it's gonna be really interesting to see what map we get. It's been Oasis for the most part here so far in NA, and we're not gonna go anywhere different to start off this series. Heading off to Oasis.
Yeah, not a shock in the absolute slightest to be getting it just over and over and over again. This is probably the map that most of these teams are practicing, and there's only going to be a few exceptions throughout the season of anything different being picked. Because at this point, they've been playing it for a season and a half now, so they are well equipped with it, and if they feel like they are simply the better team, then you're going to go into Oasis and you're going to realistically win that map. Now, Midori gets to choose the first hero ban going into this, and we've seen a lot of safe bans be taken so far this season, which honestly is just a translation of what we saw from last season, where, you know, the first ban was always like, whether it was like Juno, whether it was Freya, whether it was Hazard. It seemed like the same like 4 or 5 were in rotation.
Yeah, and again, the first map, you never necessarily want to make one of those true target bans. Like you said, you always see safe bans come out just because, hey, they're very safe. Each team probably plays them, so you're really not necessarily hurting yourself as much as you're really hurting the other team here. So they're very safe for that reason. Baptiste, though, being the hero we're seeing banned out here this time. Hunter, normally we see Bap maybe banned out a little bit further down the line, but we've talked about here a little bit as of late. Baptiste really starting to become one of those big 3 supports you're starting to see a lot now. So not a shock they're here, that they're being banned out first, as right now, Hunter, you have to consider Bap a safe ban for map 1.
It's 100% a safe ban, and in fact, it might be one of the more banned characters we have right now, pretty substantially so. I think there's maybe like 2, maybe 3 games we've done so far this season where Baptiste wasn't banned at some point, and that's because we are in a meta where Baptiste is honestly king. Like, that is one of the best supports you can run, especially with the styles we've seen of the Arisas and the Ramatras still existing. It's one of the best things to pair with it.
Yeah, I mean, Arisa's still getting a lot of play. Ramatra, I feel like it's starting to slowly fall off a little bit, especially since they were able to fix what everyone was calling the block slop. Here, still a little bit present. I mean, they were able to fix Hazard, so they probably fixed Ram by this point. But, I mean, you're starting to see Hazard definitely pick up that spot where Ramatra normally get a lot of play. You're starting to see a lot of teams run other stuff like Winston's and Diva, especially on this map like Oasis, where you did see that a lot, especially yesterday, where we saw Diva be played throughout by one team. Didn't end up working out for them in the end, but still, Hunter, that was a close 3 points that we saw yesterday.
Yeah, no, 100%. Really close points overall. And it's one of those games where obviously the score isn't fully representative of what that was, because it was extremely close in every metric. And this is one of those games that can honestly go the same way. I could see this being a 3-0 or a 3-1 that just doesn't necessarily translate how close the game was, because I think both these teams are incredibly scrappy. I think they have incredibly high peaks. It is, I think, a question of who is able to keep that peak more consistently high.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And here's the thing: as we go through all the series here and go to different maps, especially when teams picking what map they want to bring us to, you're gonna start to seeing a little bit of difference between these two teams, whether it be just compositional wise or whether they just pick a map that they are really good on. We saw that a little bit yesterday, where map 3 of New Junk City, I forget. I'm mad at myself because I'm forgetting the two teams that we saw yesterday, but map 3 was a straight roll because it was picked by the losing team, and they really took that momentum to end up winning the series in the next map. So again, there's a lot that you could really get here from these map pools, even though, like you said, we've been essentially seeing the same maps here now for almost a season and a half at this point. So you think everyone gotta be well-rounded on all the maps, but still you see slight differences and some teams have a struggle, I think is the best word to say, going to some maps, at least early on. But by the time they're finally able to stabilize, it might just be a little bit too late.
Yeah, honestly, I think that's going to be the case in some retrospects right here. And I'm curious genuinely how that is going to play out between both of these squads and the way things are going to end up going down. Specifically, as we're kind of waiting on things right now, Midori only has 4 players in the quote-unquote active lineup. They have subs, so they definitely have the people, but I believe something's getting figured out. But we've had this happen once or twice where we've had to wait for the lineup timer to go all the way down, go to a hold, and Faceit's got to come in and fix the situation. And I think we might be coming up on that being a situation.
Yeah, I think we saw it all the way back in our first series of the season. Again, I forget who it was, but it was one of the players that we actually reached out to talk to about their team, and they just weren't in the lineup originally for on Faceit, and then immediately came back to them. Yeah, here we go, on hold. They'll get into that missing player here from Midori, and then we'll probably go right back into a map here, or right back into actually the lobby, since that wasn't even made just yet. Yep, there it is. Zach back in the lobby now. Actually, they're gonna go through the map picks and bans here again. So hopefully this is fast this time around. Yep, Oasis, and again, it should be BAP, followed up by, honestly, do you remember who the second ban was? I'm
the second ban.
blank.
The second ban never went through for us to be able to see, unfortunately. But obviously, we know it's either going to be a tank or a DPS. There's a couple of ways you can go with it, and Hivemind are. I imagine they're going to keep it the exact same. You know, all things considered. But we'll find out shortly, as it has been figured out. All 5 people currently up in the lineup, as we're just waiting for a quick finalization before we get into the first map.
And right now, I mean, again, like you talked about, this is a really important game for these two teams. And granted, still very early on in the season, but I'm talking about just starting their second, third of the season off with a win is a really, really good thing for either one of these two teams, because it can carry a lot of momentum. Hazard actually going to be our second ban here as we get the invite to the lobby here right now. But Hazard, again, a very safe ban. I mean, we talked about a lot, especially on a map like this. Hazard just really, really safe, especially because you really expect to see both teams truly play the Scotsman.
Yeah, honestly. Hazard's been coming out a very fair amount. I think for a lot of teams has been the go-to dive hero. We've seen instances of the Diva, of the Winston, of the Ball, but Hazard seems to be that one character that is pretty consistent through a majority of these teams. I think there's only really a few exceptions, one of them being like Emote down mid that kind of has their strong Ball Doom preference. But either way, I think both teams are comfortable with this, but I think the way Midori wants to play here, I think they're just going into a situation where the Hazard could potentially be cutting them off, could potentially just be a hard counter for the kind of style they want to play.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's going to be interesting to see what these two teams want to play here, whether it be something a little bit more divey, like potentially you talked about Winston, Diva, Wrecking Ball, Doomfist you could throw in there. Yeah. If they're going to go straight over to the Orisa, Jungle Queen, Ramatra. Hell, I'm not even going to count out seeing a Rhine at this point, considering me and you have seen probably a little bit more Rhine than what we expect to see this entire season in the last couple days here on stream. But ooh. I like that for Midori if they're going to stick with it, especially with what Ronin is showing us right now for Hivemind on that Diva. Hero might be able to find a lot of value because they're just going to be able to do so much to Ronin where everyone on Hivemind is going to need to play very, very safe. But considering what Cabe's showing us, I have the feeling we're going to be seeing a little bit more, some more swaps here before the doors open up.
Yeah, there's a pretty good chance here as swaps getting to come through. And, oh boy, this is going to be, an interesting one. Cabe on the Bastion to get things started. Ronin, I think maybe a little happy to be on the Diva going to the situation, but also Hero playing the Zarya is going to make things really awkward for them to be able to collapse in.
Yeah, and right now you just see the two teams just kind of taking sides. Hivemind just trying to take control of that high ground while Midori really just trying to keep pressure on that low ground. You do see the turret form come out there from Cabe and immediately forces Ronin to go back because, yeah, they can use all the defense factors there or just kind of hide it out, which is exactly what they do.
Yeah, good point. Right now, being taken control of right now is you're trying to just keep your hero onto the point, but Ronin gonna be knocked out of the mech. Their team is still holding strong around them as Hypno gets super low, eventually taken out. This fight not nearly over yet. Zac going down should probably solidify it. Seaborn, though, manages to get one on the way out. Might be looking for a second, eventually taken care of, as it seems to be his hero has been alive this entire time, finally dies, and both teams still fighting hard for this point.
Yeah, I mean, that fight could have been just won by, or the point could have been taken by Hivemind really, really early there, but they wanted to get the fight win. Now they got control of the point. Everyone's back into the fray here. I'm actually surprised Cabe is sticking on this Bastion here. I thought after the one life where they saw a Diva, a Tracer, and Dreepy now going over to the Soj, where it would have been something that they immediately said, yeah, I cannot play this hero, but they're going to stick with it for one more life. And you see them playing very, very close to hero. They want to make sure they're getting those bubbles.
Yeah, and Zac doesn't even really make it into the room of rotation. There might be a free flip coming through as Recall has to be expended. Ronin getting super low. Hero getting a bubble in just in time, but they know Hero's got nothing left. Pulse Bomb comes out. Triplet. Gotta take a bit of damage still hanging around. Beat not gonna come soon enough, as all they can really do is sit in this room, try to get everybody out, as Cabe gets one, but it's gonna be long for the world.
Again, I think this is a moment where, yeah, Cabe does have that ultimate. I would walk out spawn, pop the ultimate, and then make a swap over here. I think you need to get off this Bastion. It's not necessarily doing a lot. You're able to get a lot of damage, but still, you haven't been able to win a team fight just yet, and you see Hivemind here coming up to a lot of their ultimates. Sashi already used their pulse bomb in that last fight.
3P, hoping to find something. Beat expended out just to be able to cut them away and push them back further as first leg goes through. Reaper able to get that mega health pack. On top of that, as we're going to see some trades going through, Lucio's not a factor, which means How's Your Day doesn't have a beat in Cabe. Oh, Sashi just walks right in front of them, gets deleted, and that fight will become definitive right there as Ronin just going to escape with her mech intact.
And a good team fight there by Midori. They really needed that there, or else I think they would have just ended up losing the point. They're still holding on to 3 really good ultimates, but you still have to deal with the beat and the bomb from Ronin. The bomb mostly is going to be used as a remacking tool here. How's Your Day, though? What is this beat going to be used for? Is it going to be used for the grab, or is it going to be used for the blade? No matter what, it's going to be free after that.
Yeah, and How's Your Day is in such an awkward situation where they couldn't reasonably beat. They're going to get cut away. Zac's got 2 on the board, and Smash directly behind. Ronin will reset, and I mean, that's just exactly how you get it out. The beat doesn't happen. Clean blade overall.
Yeah, clean blade, but now that beat is mostly going to be used for this grab if Ronin does not eat it. And that is one thing that Hero is now going to be really watching out for, making sure that that grab does not get in. They're going to get caught out there, but there it is.
Oh, that is a really early one. And I'll question it in a moment here as we're going to have the recall come through. Eventually, can push them away 60% and counting now as Hero expending bubbles away, and now you're going to see Cabe just trying to grind away, force everybody back. But I thought Cabe and Hero were playing for the combo of their ults. That just didn't happen.
Well, no, they did actually get the combo there. Just the beat came out from How's Your Day, Suzu came out from Hypno, making sure that nothing really found a lot of value there. However, it was Hero also really focusing on 2 heroes, trying to get rid of them early. Bomb actually coming out here from Ronin, not going to be able to find anyone, but Ronin, unfortunately, not going to get in the mech. However, they will get the point flip here, so a little bit of a positive here for them in a lost fight.
Yeah, it is a silver lining here, and with that silver lining, Sashi gonna die onto the point, and in fact, everybody gonna hard commit. This is gonna be weird though, because How's Your Day honestly wanted to be the one person that stayed alive because they're the speed.
They have Sashi there as well. Dreepy should be able to play a little bit faster, and you have Hypno there, so they do have some speed. They just need to get a touch. Ronan make the swap over to the Ramattra to have a little bit more sustain here in this final fight. I like it here, but you need to find a pick early on if you're Hivemind in this fight.
Yeah, you see Sashi being forced out of there right now. Dreepy, again, gonna have to try to be the hero for their squad. Triplet coming right around the corner from a beat. Hashide, though, taken care of, and now it's down these DPS to make it happen. Unfortunately, it is becoming a non-factor very quickly, as Midori gonna clean up house, take this first round away, but already a pretty competitive back and forth.
A really good back and forth, and honestly, after Midori lost the 2 fights that they lost, I mean, everyone on Midori only has 2 deaths. They never died once they got control of the point. They did a really, really good job of just keeping pressure onto Hivemind, making Hivemind put themselves in really awkward positions, and they just did a good job of that. I think Hero on the Zarya has been a really good pick. Cave, like I said, after they used that ultimate, I thought they would have made the swap off for the Bastion, but this Bastion has actually looked really good, especially once Midori got control of the point here. But now you look back at Hivemind here, Ronan going back over to the D.Va on a map that more, you know, kind of fits the D.Va playstyle here with the high grounds on the point. Dreepy on the sim, only gonna probably be for a TP before they swap right back over to that Soj. Sashi, though, going over to the Genji this time around. No Tracer for them. I think this is the right pick, especially with someone like Cave on that Bastion. Actually, it's gonna be Dreepy going over to the Tracer here.
Yeah, and Zac actually goes over to the Genji now in this scenario, and Sashi matching it well. It's going to be very interesting, honestly, all things considered. I'm happy that Ronan is still deciding to go with this team. I think despite going into the Zarya, it worked out a fair amount, and you already see Ronan taking a ton of damage, Defend Matrix being their friend. Triplet in the middle of nowhere, literally sitting on 1 health, is currently breaking everybody's ankles as we speak. Boops Ronan out of there, forced to grab the Mega Health Pack on top of that, as both teams just hoping to regroup as Cabe gets the necessary kill, as you're gonna see Midori go all out with this aggression now, as they should be able to reasonably take this point first.
I mean, right now, you're gonna see Dreepy just contest the point here for a little bit, but Ronan does not want to be going into Hero at the moment. Hero highly charged up. You can see just by the beam, Triplet gonna be able to find Dreepy there. There's the point cap. But right now, again, Ronan just trying to position themselves away from Hero, but these bubbles coming out from Hero are always going to the right person. That's exactly why Triplet was able to stay alive through all that. They got all the bubbles at the right time to make sure they could get to safety.
100% Cape going on with the aggression. Hypno gets taken care of really early on. And now this means, once again, Hivemind just gonna have to back out. Both DPS now dead. Ronan lucky to be out of there alive. And at this point, Ronan, I think, may be considering the swap, but no, gonna stick with it.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you. They're considering the swap. They might have to really make the swap here, because I just don't think the D.Va going into this is going to be the right move, because you saw right there in that first fight, they were always just kind of shying away from Hero. They do not want to be in front of that Zarya, especially, like I said, highly charged. That Zarya is going to do a stupid amount of damage. No free point flip, and see Zac and Hero go right back to point.
Yeah, and we're seeing what we can find. It's going to force the flip to come through here, oddly enough. So right now, Hivemind going to be in control. Triplet, though, Beater on the corner. Dreepy's about to have a Pulse Bomb, and Hypno has the ability to match back on the support, but Dreepy is taken care of early, so Pulse Bomb no more. As double Kitsune activated, Ronan up in there. How's-your-day? Doesn't have a beat yet, is literally around the corner from it. It could be the thing that decides this fight, but right now Hypno is down, and now How's-your-day not going to get the opportunity, and I think correctly so, they're going to hold on to all these ultimates.
I mean, yeah. 4 really good ultimates here. You got 27%. So, I mean, that's a huge bonus, because you look at it here right now, 50% for Midori. That would have been about 75% going into that fight if they did not cap that point. So you'd be coming in the final fight territory here right now. Blade, beat, bomb, pulse bomb, ready to go here for Hivemind. Hunter, like you said, they're in a really good spot here. As you already see, I believe that is Dreepy on point, just making sure they're getting some pressure back there, because they need to force Midori to rotate back, but that's not what you want to see early.
Yeah, no, definitely not right now, as Sashi can't do anything. And now I think you have to reasonably take your reset here. Back everybody out. Make sure you keep Ronan in that mech silk. You still have Hypno heals. But now Midori is just going to go and play aggressive, because got no reason not to.
And they find Dreepy out again, and you see Hero with the grab here ready to go. If they get it onto the majority of the team, they really don't have to worry about Ronan going to point here. Get it on the rest of the team, get rid of them, and then you can take care of the D.Va.
Yep, and now the Blade of Victory could be upon us here. Beat activated as it's thrown the other way. Triplet doesn't have it though, as Crab gonna catch on to all the necessary. Remember, Zac is gonna be a little too greedy there. Gets the kill onto Ronan though. Pulse Bomb comes through. Cape has that bubble directly onto them, and yeah, unfortunately, no retouch coming through. And that is going to be Midori taking it 2-0. And while it was definitely back and forth, it felt like Midori just really had a pretty well-established stronghold on that second point.
Yeah, I mean, it was back and forth for a moment there on that first point, but once Midori got control of it, they never really let it go into Hivemind. I felt like they kept on just kind of running into a brick wall, hoping that eventually it would go down. We talked about the struggles, especially with Ronin on that Diva. We really want to see him potentially swap off it because they just really shied away from going up against Hero, which is one thing you really want your tanks to be doing, going after each other. However, dive tanks, you normally want them to focus in on the backline. However, just Zarya, with how highly charged Hero was at all points, just seemed like Ronin never necessarily wanted to make that move to get into that backline, because gotta get up to Midori. Even though that they were playing the Zarya composition, they were playing very close together, and they were never really punished for it. I mean, Hivemind had opportunities to try to find huge potential plays, but never were able to succeed on it. And you saw there towards the end, Cave got that pulse bomb stuck on them, but it was Hero throwing that bubble onto them, making sure they didn't even have to sweat it. Midori, off to a great start here.
Yeah, and that's the utility that you have off of a Zarya. That bubble is able to pretty much eat away at any immediate damage. If you bubble yourself through literally anything, you are going to survive. If you bubble for a bomb, you're going to live. If you know, I could just name off abilities, but I don't need to. You're going to live. And that pulse bomb is no exception to that rule. But speaking of things that are the exception to the rule, Dorado going to be our next map, and Dorado, I can tell you from experience from not just this season, but last season as well, this was probably one of the least played maps out of the entire map pool.
Yeah, this definitely feels like it's Hivemind picking this map for that reason. The fact that it doesn't get played a lot, and that they really showed us nothing but dive in that first map. And this first point and second point specifically, dive does really rule on Dorado. However, once you get to the third point, you can still play the dive, but it really becomes a little bit more of a brawl central map here. Bans coming in, and honestly, Hunter, it wouldn't surprise me if our Hivemind potentially gets rid of Zarya, but no, they're getting rid of the Winston instead. So, I mean, if you are expecting Hivemind to come back out here with a Diva, why not just stick on the Zarya again here on defense? I know it might not necessarily make a lot of sense, but you really saw last map that Ronin really did not want to have anything to do with that Zarya from Hero.
Yeah, and the thing is, Zarya is definitely a character that could be played here. I think first point and third point are the better examples, obviously, but I think the way the map is structured now, you could get away with it on all 3 points and just play for a lot of these strongholds on, like, the bridge underpass on first point, the staircase area near the front of second, pretty much all of third point. There's plenty of viability to go through with this, so I don't necessarily blame them for getting rid of Winston when maybe Zarya is going to be something a little further down the line that's going to give them a lot more trouble.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That could be the case here. Kiriko going to be the second ban here, though, heading into Dorado. So again, I feel like these are two safe bans, especially for this map, and especially for Hivemind if you want to play that Diva and you're potentially expecting Midori to come out with a Winston here on this map to play a little bit dive. You're probably feeling like if you force Hero to play Diva, you probably are in a little bit of a better spot, especially if they have a really good Winston. So you ban out the Winston, force them into either a Diva mirror or potentially play the Sim or play the Zarya with a Sim TP to get up on those high grounds. But it's gonna be really interesting to see here now for these teams, Hivemind specifically, because like you said, Hunter, it was a really scrappy first point. But once Midori got control, they never gave it up. And my fear is that this might actually just happen again here on this map for Hivemind. And if once Midori gets control, will they really ever give it back up to Hivemind until a round swaps?
Yeah, that's kind of the fear in this situation right here, because this is going to be a scenario where Hivemind is going to be attacking first, and if they just get like strong held by the Zarya on first point, I mean, morale could potentially tank after a situation like that, and then you have to scramble to figure out, how do we deal with this? How do we take care of this? Now, obviously, it's not a guarantee that they're going to come out on the Diva in the situation. I think, given the situation, if you go out there and you see the Zarya and you struggle with it right out the gate, I think you have every viability in the world to swap to your own little brawl style and force your way through that way. Because if they're doing it back, it's not like a punishment situation where, oh, we're playing against a ground comp against a dive team that's playing on the high ground. You get to just go at them like it's any other brawl fight.
Yeah, and we're also just completely glazing over the fact that Hazard is now back available this map.
True.
Didn't see the Hazard at all. Map 1, that could be something that Hivemind really likes to play, so Midori got rid of that, I believe, in map 1. So you could really see Hazard come back out here, and this is a really good map for Hazard because, like we said, Dive is really good here. Hazard can play a little bit brawly as well, but they have the ability to climb up walls for a little bit, so they can get up to those high grounds pretty easily, even if they miss them on their initial violent leap.
No, yeah, exactly. The Hazard is extremely viable in a situation like this, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if this became one of the go-to tanks in this scenario. Honestly, potentially for both teams, because again, there's also no guarantee that we're going to see Midori stick on the Zarya. You know, I think this most realistically is going to become either a Hazard mirror or a Hazard Diva face-off.
I think you're absolutely right here. We could see something wacky come out, Wrecking Ball, Doomfist, potentially. But no, Hero on the Diva, Ronin on the Diva as well. So the Diva mirror actually coming out here. So you might be seeing that Winston ban here come into effect. And Hunter, like I said, that Winston ban did come from Hivemind, really probably expecting that Hero would want to play on a dive map. So you get rid of it, force him into the mirror. So they're probably thinking they're a little bit better and probably feel a little bit more comfortable going into this mirror. However, coming out of the gate right now, I mean, Seaborn on that Ana. Very, very fun pick here on this map, but on the defensive side, they're going to be able to get set up here. And I think you're really looking at Ronin, you're really looking at Dreepy to be able to find out that Ana here early on, especially with How's Your Day on that Brig. Not going to be able to really, get up to those high grounds very, very quickly at all.
No, not at all in this scenario. So I'm curious how the back and forth is going to be with both of these Divas, because the style is going to be similar for both squads, but Triplet Seaborn on the Brig Ana is going to be really hard to break through because these two can just consistently play together, and they're not really fully diveable. Drapey just has to get some good shots off, but right now, without even looking, I can tell that Seaborn is just looking around the corner for Drapey every single second when they're not healing, as they should be.
And Seaborn's doing a really good job just playing behind that wall, making sure that Drapey cannot get to them. Like you said, Hypno as well. I mean, Ronin could try to get up there, but again, you're walking into the entirety of that team here right now. Now you see that almost the mirror come out still, but I mean, I like what we're seeing here early on from Midori. I mean, they're doing a good job of holding on to these high grounds. Ronin, though, and the majority of Hivemind are up there. Hero, though, needs some support.
Yeah, has plenty of it sitting by, but now everyone has to support each other. Sashi being forced back, nice stick as Hero forced to grab the Mega Health Pack from below. As bright side here for Hivemind, this card has been waiting the entire time. Hero gonna look to cut bodies off. The cutoff could be there. Unfortunately, doesn't come to fruition. Caveman Zach literally torn to smithereens as Hero is just got to hang around, try to get some care, but it's just Hero and Seaborn still alive, and Seaborn just has to die on the card.
How's Your Day picking up the final 2 kills right there? Hero getting out is huge, but I just don't know if it's going to be worth it for them to come back in to try to get a touch here. Without your Ana, especially with that Nano, it will hurt them, but they might be kind of sitting back, hoping that they can get that Nano in time to get out there, but you do see the touch come out there from Zach. There's the rest of the team, and your supports are slowly getting there. You just need to stall in the car for a little bit longer.
Literally a quarter of a meter away, and obviously no investment of ults coming through here. They'll be taken down. Relatively quick start here for Hivemind as Cabe gonna take the late death, and with all these late picks, I mean, Ronin has the complete right to go and take control of this high ground.
Yeah, and I mean, this is exactly what we want to see from Hivemind, but again, they're kind of showing us exactly what they showed us in the last map, where they got off to a really strong start. They need to kind of keep that going, because like we saw last map, once Midori was able to win a fight, Midori never lost another fight after that. So you have to keep this up here, but Ronin, Zach just not noticing them right there, and now we see a little bit of a split coming out here from Midori.
Yeah, definitely a little bit of a split, but that's exactly what you want if you are Hivemind. You want to separate them and make them more vulnerable. Seaborn, though, getting a couple sticks onto them. Hero being given that Nano, burning through a ton of damage, but nobody dead yet. Hypno, of course, using Brutality Field. Rally is up there. Hero has a bomb just in case. His Pulse Bomb gonna get a lot of damage, but again, lots of damage, but Immortality keeping them alive.
And right now, I mean, it's just a good play here from both these teams backing up. You got ultimates out from each side here, but 2 out from Midori. You really need to find a kill with any of those. There's the bullet shot. Gonna be able to find a lot, but the rally out from Triplet keep everyone alive.
Yeah, everyone is How's Your Day. Gonna be taken out. Ronin literally sitting on the edge of being DMAC, just going to try to run without having to use the bomb, as Ronin literally 58 away, and unfortunately has to take the L, and now Ronin is potentially going to go back and swap. Yeah, they're going to swap and give up the bomb.
Yeah, it's just not worth it to them necessarily stay as Baby D.Va, try to get back into the mech there. They're going to have to give it up, which is a huge kind of win there for Midori in that fight. Again, you had to invest a couple ultimates there, but at the same time, because of that swap, it was an even ult trade. It's 3 ultimates for 3 there. Now you still have Bomb, you have your own Bola coming up here, and this allows Midori to play a little bit aggressively here, but that cart Hunter still kind of quietly moving.
Yeah, and right now, all you have to do with Sashi is nothing. Literally just get free progress, keep pushing this forward, and now Sashi can recall, can just run out of there, will be unpunished, and gets them like closer and closer to a one-fight territory. It's not quite there, obviously, but Hero just wants to kind of keep holding the high ground, and honestly, Hero is fine if they just keep trying to push high ground, because they don't have the ability to do so as Big Anti comes through! Oh, burned one after another, but Ronin able to come through. Sashi getting a stick directly onto Seaborn, as well as we're currently in a 2v2 scenario. But honestly, for Hero and Zach, this is playing in their hands.
Yeah, it's an even trade. Ronin getting demeched right here. Hero using all their defense measures to keep Zach alive and giving Zach that time to escape. A huge play right there, as again, it was an even trade across the board that left both the D.Va and the Tracer alive. However, again, Ronin, I believe, running back to spawn yet again. So whatever charge they had on yet another bomb, erase that. They're back at 15 here, Hunter. 2 minutes left to go, so a lot of time for them to build back up to a bomb but Hivemind. No ultimates really to go here until Dreamy builds up to their own Bola shot, which again, should be really quickly, just considering how fast you see Freya's build this up.
Yeah, and it feels like I'm watching the same fight over and over again, which is a compliment and 100% to Midori. Obviously not very much to Hivemind. As you see Hero eventually going to be forced out after using the Nano. Got to take a weird trade with both the Freya's are taken out, but Zach is going to be able to have this pulse around the corner. Hero has the bomb to be able to remech. Triplet is around the corner from a rally. They keep going to this high ground, but maybe we're getting to a point where maybe you have to force that point instead and force multiple members to drop down.
And again, Hunter, what did I say was the problem last map with Hivemind? Once they lost a fight, they were never able to get that momentum back. And right now, yeah, they've been able to trade, they get even trades across the board, but it's just really been Midori taking control of this map.
Yeah, and we see the big trades going back and forth. Zach still has a pulse bomb sitting by, waiting for a potential opportunity as 3P does get rid of triplets with the door opening up for Hivemind. They start moving forward as Hero gonna have to let loose the bomb. Gonna catch on to nobody as they'll remech. Zach goes for their own bomb. Unfortunately, not gonna stick onto any potential targets as Sashi has theirs loaded, ready to go.
Ronin has their bomb ready. Sashi has pulse bomb. Hypno has amp mages. They're in a really good spot, and getting rid of Cave, who was their Bola, is huge here now, but we've seen Midori still win these fights in the past. You really have to probably invest in amp mages, and Hypno using it in the best spot.
Yeah, and right now trying to find the direct stick. Pulse bomb goes out, but Sashi gets slept in the process, so this one not nearly over yet. Sashi only has one bit of care in the world, but Ronin still has a bomb to be able to remech, and honestly might be considering using this for the point. Ronin, though, just gonna help move forward as Hero delayed it. Looks like the rest of Midori can just roll their bodies helplessly on the point. Minute and a half on the board for Hivemind, and honestly, they've got the ults to keep steamrolling forward.
They got the ult. Cave made the swap over to the Soldier 76 there to just get back to contest now, making the swap over to the Cassidy instead. And Hunter, me and you have seen Cassidy really use a lot lately to good success. However, you have to remember that they haven't fixed the bug yet on his silver bullet, so that could definitely be something you have to watch out for here. We know a case in South America where a player accidentally used it and their team was forced to forfeit their entire game here. But like you said, ultimates coming up online here for Hivemind. They should really have all the advantage.
Yeah, Nano's going to go through. Bolo shot activated. Everybody separated away. See, everybody throwing themselves into Hypno. How's your day? Ultimately, going to have to use their rally just to keep everybody alive. And unfortunately for Cabe, they're in a bit of a worst-case scenario right now and is going to take the unfortunate L momentarily here. As it looks like Hivemind will be able to go play for the point. Keep things going. Hero has just got to keep supporting their backline as they're eventually going to get collapsed in on his triplet. Forced to expend further as Ronin going to use a bomb in what is a pretty precarious situation.
I mean, they're going to be able to get back into the mech here, though. That's a big thing for them and Hunter. This is final fight territory right now, and Hypno going to be able to have that amp matrix. Hero's the only one, and Zach going to have their ultimates here, but Hypno, that's only going to be used as a remeching tool here, so you're really looking at everyone else here to be able to build up stuff. Hypno, though, in that backline.
Yeah, and ends up, it's a weird 1v1 down here. Hypno manages to kind of take them out of the fight momentarily, but unfortunately the rest of their team has kind of suffered as a result. Team being thrown directly onto the base of Cave, who eventually gets taken out, but honestly, all that time spent might be enough to send this one to be over and done with, as Sashi gonna miss out on the pulse bomb, gonna get delayed, and while How's Your Day is trying to make it back, this is just delaying the inevitable.
going to be able to get back. Tribute back here as well. They do have bullet shot, so if you're looking for a strong bullet shot, you need one now more than ever. But that's just a tasty snack there for Hero. And there's the denial of the full map completion. However, Hunter, I mean, this is pretty far into the map. Hivemind did give themselves a really good win condition here.
Yeah, they really did give themselves a fantastic condition here because getting just by the very end is still a really good accomplishment because you see teams being held up on that first and second point, honestly, all the time, especially the way that Dorado works nowadays and how it functions. That happens a lot more often than I think people realistically believe. So now it's a question of if the strategy changes up at all. But honestly, if you're Hivemind, I think you're happy enough to the point where I don't think you'll make any adjustments. Maybe like an adjustment in one of the DPS, but besides that, I believe they'll attempt to say the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. But here's one big thing I'm looking at right now. I'm just looking at the stats. Cave went 4 and 8. Granted, they had the second most damage on their team, which they were playing that Freya the entire time, which is not a big shock considering Freya's normally there just to get a bunch of damage in. However, 4 and 8 is not what you want to be seeing from your hit scan here. And they're currently on Hanzo probably only for a brief moment before swapping over back to the Freya or potentially a Soj here. Hero, though, they're teasing us with Hazard, and I think this is a good opportunity right here to really try to keep that kind of brawl playstyle up but still being able to get up those high grounds pretty easily. We talked about Hero or Hazard being that kind of dive brawl hybrid here. You really need to be able to get a lot out of that, especially on someone like Ronan, who's not afraid to necessarily get in your face. However, I say all that, and they go right back over the Diva.
Yeah, 100% gonna head over to the Diva, and honestly, I don't really hate it here. Diva's working fine for both sides overall. I think they feel strongly enough about it. And if you come out the victory with the mirror right here, I think you have every right to feel confident with the rest of the series. But Cave dies pretty much immediately before the engagement can really begin. And now this is going to be an excellent scenario because I love the way that you're trying to play this. Unfortunately, though, I say that and Sashi goes down to Hero.
I mean, that's a good trade right there. Cave, though, their struggle of a map is still continuing on right here, dying first. But again, that kill on the Sashi, you see what that does here. Hivemind backing up while Midori really just trying to get rid of the support line, which would be huge. However, they're all safely back into a good spot. Now Ronan going to be able to contest card. You do see Sashi back into the fray here, but you're looking for that first pick either way here. If it comes from Hivemind, then they're going to have everything they need to hold on this choke.
Yeah, 100% they will. But right now, it's about Zach trying to hold on to this 1v1 as Point in a weird spot right now. Dreepy super low. Immortality Field has to be used, and that is Hero's call to go all in momentarily, trying to find a pick. Doesn't get anything though, as Ultimate's becoming a factor for both squads already. Dreepy, Hypno, Seaborn, all about to have theirs right around the corner. It could be a question of seconds on who's going to get them first, and now everybody seems to be getting them at the exact same time. Hypno going to be the first to invest as everybody from Midori runs, but Seaborn cannot get away.
Yeah, no escape there for Seaborn, and honestly, if you're just Midori at this point, you are looking to back up and just regroup. Zach in a little bit of a precarious spot, and it seems like Sashi knows where they are, so you're kind of playing a little bit of a split fight here, but the Tracers have been really checking themselves a lot throughout this map, and it's not been able to finish either one off just yet, but you see Seaborn coming back in, and Midori getting ready to get going yet again.
Yeah, see Dreepy trying to push back further and further. Cave, one shot, two shot, as Seaborn gets a little low. Dragon expended, as Dreepy is literally in the middle of nowhere because of the split. Gets taken care of. You take a trade as Ronan going to eat the pulse bomb from Zach, so potentially stalling a little bit of momentum, but Ronan doesn't quite yet have the bomb ready, so how's your day? Gonna help sustain a little bit, bring in the rally, push everybody back a little further. This should sustain long enough for Ronan to be able to get back into this engagement, but how's your day? Gonna get pushed back as Triplet. Gonna send it right back into the face, holding the shield, literally trying to hold down the entire team. His pulse bomb misses, but Dreepy gets the first pick, and it's gonna be a cleanup coming through here shortly for Hivemind.
And this is the problem now. Midori is going to have to just reset, but this where the card is a very hard spot to get back to, and Hero going to be staggered out here for a very, very long time. And Hunter, whew, almost close right there, but that mech would have been almost just immediately deleted. Cave now making the swap over here to the Cassidy. I did like the Hanzo pick for the brief moment. I like that it actually did exactly what you want Dragons do with splitting up the team, getting rid of Dreepy's own Deadeye, but just wasn't enough. Ronan and Hypno have those two ultimates here, and Hunter, a minute left to go on the clock. Not necessarily a lot of time here for Midori to get something going here, but all you need is one good team fight win just to add some time onto that time bank.
Yep, 100% all you need here. It could potentially be that close to a bomb, though. Both of them, I should say, around the corner here for Midori. as they need something to be able to break through this, because while they've been going back and forth, they have not been able to fully break through this defense yet. And right now, it's been Hero trying to chase down Hypno the entire time. As Zach, of all people, get taken out. Bomb expended here, as it's going to be a weird scenario as Hero gets two with it. Hypno didn't even look that direction, as Ronin now has to debate hitting the bomb. Is going to opt to hold on to it as they realize this point is done.
This point is done, and that's exactly what you needed from Midori right there. It has been a really struggle of a round for them, but hey, that bomb finding too, you really didn't expect it to find too. It was thrown up into a weird spot, but the fact it got rid of Hypno and Dreepy, probably the two people you're looking at to do a lot in that fight, just basically made something where Hivemind understood, hey, they're probably going to win this unless we have a huge play come out from Ronin or How's Your Day. However, you look at what Hivemind has here, 4 really good ultimates, and we saw what Midori was able to do last time around. That pulse bomb, that would have found 3, but the immortality field keeps them alive.
Yeah, but it might find 3 anyway. Hero D-Max, Seaborn's already gone. There's no sustain left on the board. Is Hero gonna get left to their own devices, as honestly, Sashi should honestly just let them go. Let them keep running and take their sweet time having to change out in the Hero spawner.
And we saw this last round from Ronin. It really killed them a little bit. But they had just used the bomb, so they're not necessarily losing that much here. However, still 3 really good ultimates left to go here for Hivemind. 3, 4 ultimates about to be ready here for Midori, so you're in a spot where you can really try to break through this cold. But right now, even if you break through it, you're still going to have to deal with probably one more fight on this push. However, you need to get going fast here if you're Midori. That time bank no longer on your side.
Yeah, definitely not here, as Cabe in a bit of a weird scenario, just trying to hold down this corner with Triplet. Unfortunately, you see Dreepy holding it down as Cabe can say goodnight, as Dreepy gets another on top of that, and Hero has to run for the hills, has to potentially avoid being D-Macked. Unfortunately, will, and has to do the swap once again.
Again, though, only 36% on that bomb, not necessarily the worst. We did see Ronin last round, about a minute left on the clock, go from 15 to having that bomb, just ready for that second point hole, or second point cap if needed. But still, 4 ultimates ready to go here now for Midori. About to have all 5 ultimates ready to go here for Hivemind. So if you're Hivemind, you are feeling very, very comfortable here. However, you cannot get stunned out here early on.
Yeah, double sword ultimate used here on the side of Midori. They really want to push through. Honestly, with the amount of time that's left, I don't blame them, as Ronin sliding through the backside right now. Has the bomb available just in case, as both sports forcing the way around, as oh man, Dreepy, buddy, I appreciate what you're trying to do there. Did not work, as How's Your Day gets stuck, and now we're taking the back and forth trades once again. Cabe hanging around with a Deadeye still available. Smash, oh my goodness, nearly gets rid of Cabe there, as Cabe is just he's just gonna keep getting forced back, honestly, as they're getting pressured to all hell decks.
Yeah, and that trade right there really did hurt Midori and all the momentum they kind of built up there. You got rid of 3 ultimates, but you're still holding on to 2 right now. If you're Hivemind, those 2 might be the biggest ultimates you have here. However, final fight territory from here on out, and the only thing you really have to your name at the moment, if you're Midori, is that Deadeye from K. But we've seen a lot, that be eaten a lot in the past, and a boop off the high ground, basically gonna make sure it finds nothing.
Yeah, overtime, I believe, got activated, as it will go through at the last second, and now you're trying to go through Triplet, gonna make it lead at bomb right there, and Dreepy literally gonna try to give their life, but gets neither of them. Ronin gets D-Mech'd on the bomb on top of that. This could be disastrous for Hivemind, who 10 seconds ago looked at this thing in the bag.
Yeah, and now Hypno on point, the only one there. How's Your Day as well. And out there's the rally from Triplet. There's the rally as well from How's Your Day. It's gonna be a fight here for the second point.
Yeah, and ults have all been expanded. It come down to Hypno right here, but gets deleted extremely quickly. Hero knocked out of the mech, no longer a tank to work with them, and now they're being deleted one by one. How's Your Day? Taking one down before being ultimately traded out. Ronin being taken out of the mech. Hero right there, solo on health, needs to remech. If they do, this seems solidified, but with Cave coming back and cleaning house, it looks like it might be anyway.
Cave back here, Zach here as well. Second point, gonna be not capped! Not capped. Hypno though, falling out. Can they get any support? No, they cannot. Midori gives themselves here a minute and a half to go. Remember, it was only about a minute and a half, maybe a little bit more for Hivemind last round. Hero though, late swap over to the Zarya. Like we said, Hunter, I kind of thought we could see the Zarya at some point in this map. I thought we'd see a little bit earlier on, considering how good Hero did with it last round against Ronin. Is it a little bit too late now? It's already a minute to go, and you're really in that final fight territory yet again.
Yeah, and you're gonna see the process right there, just trying to hack out Ronin, make it easy for Hero to do what they want to do, but Hero already has expended both of their bubbles, so can't hang around in the situation. Pulse Bomb comes through, gonna stick, gonna get rid of Immortality Field, as now Zach Their turn around the corner, but it's really hard to set up a pulse bomb in the situation as Hero and Squad are currently trying to take over the high ground.
They're doing a good job of it again. Ronan does not want to be up there. Hero's just melting them down. Or the immortality field out. I think that's a huge go sign here. And you lose How's Your Day if you're Hivemind. That's a disaster to start off this fight.
Yeah, now you have to die on this car right now if you are Ronan, because Sashi is going to have to be a toucher. How's Your Day might have the swap to go fast as they're going to go back. And How's Your Day goes on Lifeweaver to pull them back in, but they still have to go and get the retouch. EMP activated, Pulse Bomb directly onto them. They're being deleted one by one. Ronan coming back in on the Rhine. It's not enough. He felt over and done with back on second play with Midori. Clutch it up, bring it to match point. Disastrous for Hivemind.
Yeah, disastrous. And honestly, though, I think the turning point was Cave finding that Pulse Bomb stick onto the brig for Hivemind. I think just getting them out of the picture opened up so much for Midori that even though there was a lot of time left and Hivemind almost got set back up, they just had to scatter. You saw a lot happen right there, but Midori somehow, some way is now on series point. And Hunter, we came into this series talking about the potential that, hey, this could be a 3-0, but it would be a very, very close 3-0. Right now, after that second map, we're kind of gearing up to have that be the result, but Hivemind, a much better map for them. It comes up just short as it fell apart in essentially the last 2 minutes of the map.
Like, literally, it was essentially done at one point. Hero got knocked out of the mech. They had lost they lost Cabe earlier on as well, and it was a scenario where all they had to do is they pulled the corner with that Deadeye, and that Deadeye should have caught somebody, and instead they die. Hero remechs. They regroup up with K back on the Sombra, and for that final fight, EMP was there to basically finish everything off, and it's a really unfortunate scenario because it felt like that was Hivemind's to lose, and unfortunately, they did.
Well, you have to remember, when Hero remech, they also were able to get Ronan out of mech. That killed their mech. If Ronan stays in that mech, you might be looking at a little bit of something different. Defense matrix still there. You're still able to do a lot of pressure, a lot of damage over to Hivemind, but because you lost the mech, you basically had to have your team back up. And I think you could also maybe add a little bit more there that I forget who was playing the BAP, came in and tried to stall it out, but it seemed like the rest of their team just said, okay, we're gonna give them a second point. That hurt them initially on that final point push because they had to wait for that BAP to get set back up on the high ground. And like I said, going to that third point, we saw Hero make the swap back over to Zarya. Was it a little bit too late? No, it was almost a perfect thing for them because Ronan could not aggress up onto that high ground, and it really, really put Hivemind into bad spot after bad spot. Zarya, though, gonna be banned out here this time around. And you know who's doing it? It's Hivemind, and this might be the perfect map for it as we head to Runasapi.
Yeah, honestly, it is, because at this point, this is definitely, I think, the strongest point for Zarya of what we had so far. So now, going into this situation, it feels pretty clear what you have to do now if you are Hivemind, because you have a particular style. The problem is, with the way things are, nothing stops Midori from just matching the D.Va again, because even though it was pretty back and forth, they were very much holding their own.
They were holding their own, but it always kind of seemed like when that D.Va mirror was present, it was always kind of leaning a little bit more towards Hivemind throughout all of it. So you're really hoping that that's going to be the case again here. However, one hero we haven't yet seen at all this series is the Orisa. And I feel like that's a hero that you could definitely see come out here on a map like Musapi. A Jungle Queen could also come out on this map here. Ramattra, we did see a little bit earlier on back in Oasis, but it wasn't from Midori, it was from Hivemind. So right now, I think you're kind of leaning back to seeing that D.Va mirror again. And if you're Hivemind, getting rid of the Czar, you probably feel a little bit more confident going into this map. However, no Tracer basically means you're going back over to dueling Genjis, or potentially just straight up seeing Sombra, because we saw Sombra for a little bit there towards the end of Dorado.
Yeah, we did in that scenario, and I'm questioning to see if anything realistically changes going into Runasapi. Because, again, ladies and gentlemen, this is potential match point here, and that very much is. So you're hoping for a reverse sweep if you're a Hivemind fan, and with the way they have been scrappy throughout the season so far, the likelihood is entirely present. Whether or not it will happen, we're going to find out in 10 minutes or less, potentially.
Yeah, and we're going to see here in about 5 seconds what these two teams are going to be showing us here. Is it going to be the dueling divas? Ronan? Not going to show us just yet, but Hero going over to the Orisa. Like I kind of said, without the Zarya, I feel like Orisa kind of comes into a little bit of a spot of her own here, and that's exactly what we're seeing Hero, but Ronan sticking on the Diva. And Hunter, I mean, we've been seeing a lot of Diva here recently, and it has to bring the question, or I have to bring up the question of, is Diva one of those tanks that maybe I'm sleeping on here a little bit, considering we've seen a lot of teams play here in the last couple days. But outside of that, no Tracer. Zach going over to the Venture instead. I really like this from them, especially with this Orisa. You're just going to be able to kind of force Ronan back, kind of like how they were with the Zarya on the other side. They're going to have to be very, very careful when they're trying to make those aggressive dives.
Yeah, got to be extremely careful. Hero's going to be able to be very oppressive in that matter, which means if you're Seaborn and Cabe, you probably want to ideally be near your Orisa in these scenarios. I think especially in Cabe's case, who was getting really hard pressured every time. Seaborn was getting hit all the time by Ronan as well. But Dex, it's all going to come down to this first elimination. Sashi, how's your day? Both extremely low. Hero expending their gold form already to try to hold it down. As Sashi, of all people, goes down first. It comes down to how's your day to trade it back around, as everyone looks extremely separate right now, at least on the side of Hivemind.
Yeah, the teams have essentially flipped the map, but down one of your supports right here. If you're Midori, you're really just getting what you can. However, Triple can get back here very fast with Seaborn. Now it just becomes a situation of you're just essentially either dying on card, but I mean, it still looks like Midori feels like they have a chance in the fight.
It's more than a chance at this point. In fact, it seems to be they've taken control of the fight. Hivemind's got to back out, run out, get everybody back, and go for one more fight. As again, just Midori has a very particular way of doing things. What?
I was gonna say, I know you didn't see there. Cabe was essentially in the spawn door of Hivemind right there. That won't get them to forward spawns. It did buy him a lot of space, but right now you're gonna see Midori just straight up back up. Hypno though, not that far away from the Kitsune Rush here, so once they get that ready to go, I would not be surprised if we see it pop it immediately. Cabe though has Deadeye coming up here, but Hypno's gonna have this Kitsune Rush a little bit earlier, so I think right now you have to give the advantage to Hivemind, at least in the initial part of this fight.
Yeah. Gonna have this rush right around the corner. I think knowing what you know about what's online, I think you can go very aggressive with this. But now, Dreepy and Hypno die immediately, and this ult is gonna do next to nothing. How's your day? Gets healed up momentarily as Triplet does go down, so they're beginning to trade out. Beat activated as Ronan is basically gonna bomb with the beat on top of it to remake it back inside. But how's your day is not long for the world as they're taken out, and that is honestly disaster for Hivemind.
Disaster and Ronan getting DMAC'd. Luckily, hey, you're right by a spot on the map where you can just jump off the mountain essentially. But this should just guarantee Midori gets these forward spawns. It would not surprise me if we see a swap come out here from Hivemind at this point. Again, the Diva's struggling and you just use bomb, but Ronan gonna stick with it. And you look at Midori here, Hunter. All 5 ultimates ready to go against a Blade and an Overclock. Yeah, those are 2 really good ultimates on their own, but you're looking at the ultimates Midori has and just saying it's gonna be a really interesting fight if they end up losing it.
Yeah, and now you're going to look for this Deadeye, and it's just going to buy you more space. Increase that lead further and further. Cave going to go around the corner. Ronan going to get low to be taken out of the mech. Has to back out all the way. As all that's happening is they're getting to 80+ meters. And it's potentially going to extend further, but Dreepy wants to try to put a stop to that right here and now. Beat comes out just in time. They're going to go super aggro, force Dreepy back as Zach not going to hold back in the sled is trying to push them away. As again, they're just getting more and more meterage.
Lead over 80 meters at this point, but now that the beat is out, this Blade could be free here from Sashi. There's the Terror Surge out. Not going to find anyone. They immediately pop it right there, recognizing everyone got Alpha Ronan in a little bit of a bad spot here. No bomb to save him this time.
Yeah, and now Ronan completely gone. Sashi manages to get rid of a Mortality Field, which is nice and all, but it doesn't stop everybody from hanging around, and this lead is just extending further and further and further. And even after all that, Seaborn still has an ult sitting by.
And that ult's going to be used really well here. Just to open up a lot of stuff. Drippy taking out Hypno and Sashi had this 2 ultimates. I really expect them to try and combo them up here. And right now, you just need something to go your way if you're Hivemind.
Yeah, and now Blade is there from Sashi. Does get rid of 2, so it looks like for now, the offense is going to be stopped. That's just Hero and Zach hanging around. Will eventually both be taken care of, but Dex, you got to be happy as you can be right now if you're Midori.
Oh, 125-meter lead. Hunter, I don't know if we've ever seen a lead of that much lose, essentially. Like, I don't think we've ever seen a team fumble the bag that hard. However, still half the time left here in this map, so never say anything is impossible, especially with 3 ultimates coming up here for Hivemind. They could try to play very, very quickly here, get a team fight victory they desperately need just to try to get some progress going their way.
Yeah, nearly seeing Hajide being taken care of. You could potentially see an aggressive beat here momentarily. I gotta 100% see that as cart being stolen. Hero has a little frog waiting for them, hanging around, just kind of holding it down as Kitsune Rush being thrown in. Everybody forced back into a little corridor where Immortality Field has been used and already been taken care of. As Ronan goes in really aggressive momentarily, manages to stay back into the mech though. Needs to find an opportunity to go in with some aggression. Zack getting super low, has all the damage being pressed into them. All the heals in the world being expended to keep them alive. Ronan gets a beat just in time though. Gonna be able to remech, stay into it now as Hero potentially looking to go all in around the corner. Everybody forced to run, but yet Seaborn does get taken out as the rest of Hivemind gonna have an opportunity to start coming back together as Zack gonna find nothing here with this tectonic play. But Ronan does get knocked out of mech, which honestly, even if you lose this fight, you're fine because you are just killing time and making 50-50 fights.
Killing time and
Forward spawns.
got the forward spawns back right there, which I don't think it's going to help either one of their fallen teammates. However, Hunter, I mean, you just basically wasted half a minute, and still, Hivemind hasn't been able to progress the cart at all. You're still holding on to this 125-meter lead, and if you're Midori, you're looking at it saying, like, hey, they had ultimates, they used them all, we use a lot, but Cave falling first, that's not what you want to see fall first. If you're Midori, they've been having an excellent map.
Yeah, exactly, and Hero runs in to try to find something, trying to pressure Greasy back over and over. But you see the rest of the team basically configures to them, forces them back further, and eventually they're gonna get through. And Zack is literally just brute forcing the way into everybody, but eventually will it be taken out as that bot is stolen away. And with that bot being stolen, that means everybody is gonna get that close spawn with the exception of maybe Triplet.
Yeah, but Triplet's on the Lucio, so even if they don't get the close spawn, it's not necessarily the biggest loss, especially if you're good at wall riding. You should be able to get quickly back to your team here. However, 3 minutes to go here, 125-meter deficit. That's about 3-4 fights, basically, especially with the fact that you're going to have to stall out a little bit if you do get these forward spawns. But you have the Blade ready to go up to your Sasuke. Hypno does have Kitsune Rush. Again, that's a very combo heavy ultimate you could see come out there, but at the same time, running his teammate yet again.
Yeah, right now Asashi trying to find something, ends up getting a nice deflect that Cave ends up shooting into, and now it's just these two hanging around. You gotta get rid of them as seemingly kind of ignoring them for now as it's just Hero on their own, all around the corner, wants to stay long enough, but it's just not gonna happen as Cart's gonna move forward, and I think realistically Zack maybe could stall, but they might just get checkpoint here and now.
I mean, I think it'd be dumb to just throw your body out onto the cart. Zack,
Well,
though,
well.
you know what? Maybe I'm dumb thinking that it was dumb. However, 3 ultimates, almost 4 ultimates coming up here for Midori. You're going to give up forward spawns with 2.5 minutes left to go. However, you are seeing Hivemind slowly but surely eat away at this lead, and you're seeing them come up to 4 ultimates as well, Hunter. We're about to see a heavy ult fight.
Yeah, heavy indeed. Cave is literally sitting on the cups of nothingness, and nothingness they shall become. Hero having used everything and the kitchen sink to try to stay alive. Little 80 strafe battle there with how Jude lives, but unfortunately, living is becoming a very subjective word very quickly for Hero.
Hero, I mean, they just have no supports around them. They're doing everything in their possible life to keep themselves alive, and they did a damn good job of it, but just wasn't long enough. Bomb, though, being forced out there by Ronan is actually huge. Zack gonna die in that backline, but Hunter, 100 seconds left to go. A 72-meter deficit here for Hivemind, but they're going the right direction here. However, you just had a heavy ult investment. You only have the beat to your name. You're walking into 3 ultimates from the other side. Granted, 2 of them are support ultimates, but still, these are 2 of the best support ultimates in the game, and we've seen both these supports find a lot of value with them throughout the night.
Yep, 100%. It's going to be a bit of an uphill climb this fight, but if they manage to make this happen somehow, it would be incredible to make it happen. Tectonic play available here for Zack. Gonna force everybody back. Nobody down yet, though. Lots of damage taking place as Hypno is just caught out in broad daylight. And now all you can do is just take the reset. Hypno reasonably should be able to get good spawn, but it's going to be close.
They're just gonna get them, barely. But 60 seconds left to go, Hunter. At this point, if you are Hivemind, you cannot afford to lose a team fight here with everyone dying. If you lose someone early, you probably just have to back up. But now you just see Midori casually pushing his cart back up. If they get forward spawns back in their control, it's gonna be very difficult for Hivemind to do anything.
Yeah, 100%. Seaborn letting loose over here as they're trying to keep the rest of their team up and running with the Sand Matrix. Hero shouldn't go down anytime soon as forward spawn. Again, activated. Ronin in the backside, but everybody's low. Trades out, but Ronin doesn't get it. Dreepy goes down, and now everyone needs to run for the hills because it's going to come down to a bladed C4. Gonna delete and Hypno Invest too because this is all they can do. And with 10 seconds remaining, Hajide, the only person who can reasonably touch.
And I like this. Midori just completely getting off the card here, forcing Hivemind to make that mad
Boop
dash
back.
there. Huge boop by Triplet. Deadeye coming out, but there is the touch. Anything is now possible, but Ronin so close to getting dematched.
Touchy is literally there, barely in time. Sashi has nothing left to work with, though. And Hivemind, they fought back and forth, but Midori is quickly closing the book. Gonna be turning this one into a 3-0 very surely, as all the supports can do is just hang around on the card, delay the inevitable from coming through, and such it shall happen. Midori makes the 3-0 happen. They move up to 4-2 on the season now, and it was back and forth, but I feel like the more and more this progressed onward, the more that Midori just found the way to burst right through Hivemind.
Yeah, we're going back to what we saw a lot of map 1 of Oasis, where Hivemind, they got a fast start off on that first point. Midori kind of looked lost. We were kind of questioning, or at least I was questioning what they were playing with that Zarya and Bastion, but it ended up working out for them in the end. And Midori, after winning one team fight on that first map, never lost another team fight after that, had a pretty dominant one. Then you go over to Dorado, where Hivemind looked to have it in the bag, essentially, but fumbled it really hard, and what we both consider to be the final fight of that map, it extended into 2 more fights, and Midori somehow, someway winning it. And then you go to this map where, hey, the Zarya was banned, and if you're Hivemind, you're thinking, okay, that's been our kryptonite all series long, especially with Ronin playing that Diva, where they still had a really good map on the Diva, but that Orisa just being able to sustain through so much was a big problem for Hivemind. But at the same time, you had that DPS line for Midori really step up as well, but still, Hero was probably the person you really had to give a lot to there. The least amount of deaths in the lobby, same with Sashi, who only had 4, but those 22 elims really pushed Midori over the edge there.
Yeah, it really did, and it felt like it was very back and forth the majority of it, but always them just finding these advantages. Cabe was extremely impressive throughout the entirety of the day. No matter what they were on, it felt like they were difficult to deal with. I think all the DPS really stepped up in their own way as well. Everyone kind of had their big moment to shine, we'll say. There's some really unfortunate situations in there as well. Some very critical mistakes, I might add. But overall, I like the performance from both squads. It's just Midori figured out pretty early on what they wanted to do, and they found out, hey, this works. We have no reason to go away from this until it stops working. Even when it did, they made adjustments, and they came back, and they took a map that 100% probably should have been a losing effort from them. They turned it around, they made this a 3-0, and now they're sitting pretty at 4-2.
Yeah, and like we said, coming into the series, both these two teams starting their second third of their games here, their second set of 5. So this was a big one for Midori. You get that win, like you said, goes to 4-2. Hivemind goes down to 3-3. So still not the worst record, especially as most of the other teams here in NA have yet to play their 4th or their 5th games yet. So still being 3-3 after your 6th game will probably still keep you around that top 8, which is good for Hivemind. As we saw a lot throughout the Night Hunter, very scrappy team, and they've essentially had that be their go-to motto, it seemed, or at least their playstyle throughout this entire season so far. They've been very scrappy, brought a couple teams to great distances, had a couple sweeps in there, but they've been able to win games that maybe they really shouldn't have. They're starting off good here. They need to bounce back from this one, though, as Midori, we really do expect to be one of those top teams here in NA so far, especially with some other teams that were really good last season, kind of having some weird results here early on.
Yeah, it's been a very weird season already from what we have seen in the past. But I invite that, honestly. It wouldn't have been as exciting if every team just did the exact same thing they did in the previous season. Midori might be going down that same route, but other teams seem to be doing things a little bit differently. As we're having some other games that are getting taken care of. But hey, if you want to talk about, I don't know if you can call this upset alert over at this point. Artemis, who just the other day ended up taking down Young and Beautiful, has now been Extinction Zero, taking them down, who has been a really dominant team to start the season. And on top of that, we are one map away from In Control potentially taking their first win, as they're up 2-1 against Nightmare Rotation. Holy.
Nightmare Rotation is the biggest question mark team to me because they've been able to beat some really good teams, but then they've also lost some really good teams. And In Control being the only team to yet win a series so far in this season. I mean, this would kind of be a bad loss for them, but again, it feels like they're probably still trying to do a lot of stuff right there. But they've been able to win games. They need to come back in this one though, because I think dropping one to In Control is not going to be the best look for them.
No, definitely not the best look. You don't want to be. It's kind of like back in the day, old Overwatch. Like you didn't want to be the team that lost to the Shanghai Dragons. You didn't want to be that team. But it's looking potentially that Night Rotation is going to become the Boston Uprising and potentially take that L. But we're gonna have to see. They're still connecting, and obviously that's going to take like 10 potential plus minutes for us to figure out the result of that. So you know what? If you want to find out the result, you just gotta go watch for yourself. Unfortunately. Only other result we'll talk about really fast. Alternate beat Shikigami 3-0. Unfortunately for Shikigami, that's kind of the expected result from what we've seen from Alternate. It looked pretty back and forth, score-wise, stat-wise, I believe as well. Yeah, pretty back and forth. Shikigami is just a team who just is really struggling to find the momentum that they found near the end of last season. But again, it's early on in the season. You got time to bounce back, and that's the case for, honestly, strangely, a lot of teams we didn't quite expect to be struggling this early on doing so.
Yeah, I mean, right now with this win here, Midori being 4-2, actually that moves them up to the #1 team here. Granted, a lot of teams have, like I said, yet to play their 5th or 6th game. Some teams have yet to even play their 4th. I mean, Boop Troop, the only team that's undefeated right now, has only played 3 games so far. So again, there's gonna be a lot of movement in the standings here. And I think it's kind of hard to necessarily get a grasp on what teams are necessarily those top tier teams and what teams are those mid-pack teams at the moment, just because you see so many different teams have yet to play a lot of games.
Yeah, that's the way it is, and we saw this to a much smaller degree last season as well, where some teams had to reschedule and they had situations where they had to play games 3 or 4 days in a row. Butcher has an instance coming up like in a week or two where they're going to play 4 games in 4 days, which is it means
that's a
yeah, their standing could change dramatically in the course of a week, for all we know.
Yeah, I mean, I think the best example is last season. We saw that with Alternate. They were one of the top teams. I believe they played 4 games in 5 days and basically almost fell out of the playoffs because I think they were only able to win 1 of those 4 games. So it's a thing where, yeah, you're rescheduling games to play a lot in a row, but if you lose, you don't necessarily have that time to really go back and figure out what went wrong.
Yeah, exactly. But hopefully these teams get the chance to be able to figure out. Again, we're still at like the third of the way through mark on the season, and some of the teams aren't even at that point yet. So a lot can still happen for a lot of these squads. But we'll see what the case is going to be later on. As again, that is it for this week for us when it comes to Faceit League. I believe I'm going to double check. I think there are a couple matches happening over the weekend. Not actually. No, that's next weekend. There's some happening on the weekend. Saturday and Sunday have a couple of matches on them, respectively, which should be pretty exciting overall. Obviously, we don't know quite yet what our schedule is going to be for next week. And know for sure we'll be here, obviously, Wednesdays and Fridays. We'll debate whether there's going to be anything outside of that for North and South America. But once more, we just want to kind of say thank y'all for coming out here, again, supporting the co-stream, watching these 2 amazing teams go against each other, and watching all the amazing teams between both of these amazing regions be able to play up against each other. Because Dex, speaking for both of us here, as I'm sure you'll agree, this went from a situation of, hey, we just want to get our reps in, we just want to have, have a fun time, and it's definitely partially still that, but it's become like,
yeah,
shit, now I'm invested in this.
It's been fun to watch a lot of these teams, and it really has been. And especially for some of the teams that are struggling right now, we've seen a lot of them play, and they are probably a little bit better than what their records are. I think they just ran into the wrong teams at the wrong times here. But like you said, Hunter, a lot of games still left to go. A lot of teams still have more than 10 games left to go. So there's still a lot of movement to be happening in these standings. So, I mean, hey, make sure you follow Hunter's Twitch here because you're not going to want to miss any of the action here coming up.
Yeah, 100%. So hopefully we'll see you next week, some more of that action. So for the time being, have yourselves a great weekend. Take care. And we'll see you next week for some more Faceit League action. See y'all later.